Hello Internet, it's Skunk Sauce TV, and today I'm going to talk about terrible, horrible, and disgusting tattoos, and why I love them.
Skunk Sauce TV.
First things first, I'm sorry my hair is wet. Whatever. I don't have a script written for this. I don't have anything written down for this. Usually I write up like an essay if I'm trying to frame out a video. I'm going off the dome. We're just gonna spill the words out here for this one, because I don't know. I have a lot to say about disgusting, nasty, abhorrent tattoos. Given that I'm a tattoo artist in Chicago. You can find me at Snugglebug Inc. on Instagram. But anyway, I'm a tattoo artist, and I tattoo some nasty stuff sometimes. You know, not super nasty, but like a little bit nasty. Now, there's a range, right? A graph, if you will, when it comes to terrible tattoos. Now, we have things that are completely abhorrent and disgusting, and like, why would you put that out in public? And then we have some things that are just kind of gross, kind of weird, kind of suggestive, you know. And I've come to find that the general public sees zero distinction between the two. Like, they lump them all together in the why are you showing me this in the public eye sphere, right? So like, I can't show you, YouTube, some of the tattoos that I'm thinking of that come to mind when I think of like really disgusting, nasty tattoos. But if there's any idea I can give you as to what I'm thinking about, there's a magazine that I buy called Taboo, and it's a more suggestive magazine, if you know what I'm saying, that usually includes a lot of heavy body modification, a lot of, you know, nasty tattoos, suspension piercings. It's basically like an alternative Sports Illustrated. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. And if you flip through any one of these, there are usually these sections where they showcase a lot of tattoos done by wonderfully amazing, talented artists that have a more suggestive or nasty subject matter. And I'm gonna show on the screen in a second here a few examples of what I'm talking about that I think I can show, including some of my own work, which if it is my own work, I'll list it, work from other artists, which I will credit 100%, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So, here.
Wow.
Woo! Look at all that. Cool. Okay, that one's cool. All right. I might even just post some censor bars on some of my favorite ones and just post them anyway. I don't know. Whatever. But okay, I bet you clicked on this video thinking, okay, you're gonna show me some terrible, disgusting tattoos, and you're gonna rag on them, and you're gonna be like, ew, what the hell, and you're gonna react to them. No. Kinda. No, I'm not gonna do that. I can, if you want to see that, because there are some tattoos that I find disgusting that don't even have a nasty subject matter and just kind of are not great, and I don't like them. But no, we're going to be talking about suggestive tattoos, nasty tattoos, and why they're so hated, and why I personally love them to death. Now, I'm not going to go into the specifics and be super intense about tattoo history right now. I think that that's probably something for another video, because I could say so much about it. I've watched so many documentaries, I've read so many books, and, you know, it's something I'm very passionate about. But instead, what I'm gonna basically vaguely say is tattooing has been very, very underground and very kind of like hush-hush secretive amongst communities for like the majority of the time it's existed than not. So, you know, tattooing in the past 10, 20 years has really taken off and has really boomed like crazy. And, you know, now you meet people, and I don't know about you, but I personally mostly meet people that have tattoos, and it's more rare for me to meet someone that either doesn't have a tattoo or has never gotten a tattoo. You know, tattooing is no longer like, okay, you gotta know a guy who knows a guy, and you gotta go into this basement and go behind the back and, you know, It's not that anymore. You know, there's a shop every mile. I live in Chicago, so, you know, I can't count on my fingers the amount of shops that are just in my area. You know, they're literally everywhere, and for good reason. I think having this many shops and this many artists and this many creative individuals all around who can offer their specific style of work makes it so that it's really easy for you as the consumer, you as the client, to find a style that you really like and you really jive with and something that you really want, and you can really fine tune and sharpen out who you're working with. So like my studio, Good Boy Inc., shout out, my studio is a queer trans studio, and our clientele primarily ends up being a lot of queer and trans people. I do a ton of cartoony, cute little things. Those people searching for that style tend to find me, and so on and so forth. But even though I do a bunch of cute, cartoony things, I also do some nasty stuff here and there. And anytime someone books with me and they want something nasty, the level of excitement that I have skyrockets through the roof. Through the roof. It makes my day. Like, I'm generally so excited. And I bet you're wondering, like, why would you be excited to tattoo something so gross that they're gonna get made fun of for? That's not it. That's not it. The best example that I can explain is my good friend Stella. Shout out Stella. If you're watching this, I love you, girl. My client Stella, who ended up being a friend of mine, came in and she got a full color, semi-large tattoo on her inner arm, so kind of like near the pit, of 2 characters from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic sloppy making out. It was nasty. Perverted. And it's one of my favorite tattoos I have ever done. Ever. And someone saw this tattoo and posted it on the Bad Tattoos subreddit. Okay? And I personally was like, oh my god, this is an achievement. I finally made it. I've made it onto the Bad Tattoo subreddit. And I was excited because, in my opinion, if I'm making people this angry with my art, I gotta be doing something right. And it's a nasty, silly, fun little tattoo. And, a lot of the comments were, why would this person get this? They can never go out in public. They'll never get a job. And I'm sitting here thinking, this is all the way up here on her arm, right? A regular sleeve will cover this. Do people think that when you get a tattoo, they just it can be, employers and people in the public can just sense it and see through it with laser eyes or X-ray eyes? I don't know. Another popular comment I saw under that post was, oh my god, they know it's permanent, right? She knows it's permanent, right? Yeah, I hope so. That is the point. It's meant to stay, it's a tattoo. I think, people that are getting tattoos know that it is in fact a permanent process. So anyway, moving on. But my reasoning for enjoying doing these requests, whether it is just some suggestive nudity or full-blown, is there's a reason why people get these tattoos. It's fun. Straight up, sometimes that's the only answer. It's super fun. And at its core, to get something like that put on your body permanently is truly the rawest, deepest form of self-expression and what you find fun, and just not taking yourself too seriously. I think, I do more silly, ridiculous tattoos than not. I have a series where I did a bunch of creepypastas and internet spooky characters, super cute with blush and pink and bows, and it's ridiculous. That's totally ridiculous. I have some ridiculous tattoos on my body, and when I do those tattoos more often than super serious ones and super meaningful ones, which, I love the meaningful ones as well, but I think that the uptick in people getting tattoos like this that are this, ridiculous and fun and silly is a freedom that they feel with their bodily autonomy that I am so happy to be a part of, and so happy to just apply this to their skin and see the confidence go up and see the happiness go up, because these people are not taking their lives too seriously. And you can't. If you take your life too seriously, you're gonna go crazy. You're gonna go nuts. Take it from me. I took my life too seriously for many years and I went fucking crazy. So, yeah. But no, really, I mean, the current state of the world, as we all know, is a mess. And I think to decide and take the time to think, okay, everything sucks. What doesn't suck? getting a tattoo of a dog on a skateboard. You know, I think to sit there and decide to take that freedom and apply it to yourself and find joy and comfort in little things and little creative expressions like this is so incredibly important right now. And to its core, that's why I love nasty, disgusting tattoos. Because you're really, truly the actual definition of not taking your life or taking anything too seriously. And I think that that's completely beautiful. You know, I have a fair amount of tattoos on my body that have some nudity in them, that have some drug use in them. And I love them just as much as my super important memorial tattoos. Because obviously nobody can argue, you know, the really important memorial tattoos and personal tattoos, they absolutely have their place in their meaning, and that's another conversation for another time. But they have just as much meaning and just as much place as something completely ridiculous that you're getting to giggle at yourself every once in a while. And I think people that tend to see those tattoos and see things like that and get angry immediately and get judgmental immediately, I don't think that they have the level of freedom with their creativity, with their life, with their happiness. And I think that makes them mad. I think it makes them mad. Because at the end of the day, the people that judge very aggressively, it's not on their body. They're probably never going to see it. You're a random guy on the internet looking at a tattoo, you know, and you're never going to see it. So who cares? Who cares? And if you do come across it in public one day, what are you going to do about it? Yell at the person who got it? What's going to change? They can't rip it off unless you want to pay for their laser, which is like $1 million. Not actually. Takes forever and doesn't always have the best results, you know? And I think that kind of leads into a larger conversation about where does judgment to that degree really get us if we can't actively change anything. But again, that is like a whole other conversation that I could talk about for a very extended period of time. I also think that it's worth mentioning that there are some terrible, nasty tattoos that I have seen that I don't particularly like or agree with for my own reasons. But again, what am I going to do about it, and who cares? I'm never going to see these people, so that's just me. You know, it doesn't matter. I think that there is just so much joy to be had in letting yourself be weird and letting yourself be kind of a freak. I think that the people that I've tattooed, or not tattooed, just the people that I've met, who, and I can't, obviously I can't make a generalization, I can't judge solely based on the tattoos that someone has all of the time. Sometimes you can. Yikes! But I have noticed a big difference in certain people that I've met who only have super, super serious tattoos, and then people that have a bunch of funny, silly, ridiculous stuff, and their temperaments and the way that they act do tend to be very different. I feel like everyone I've ever tattooed that has gotten a silly, nasty tattoo, they live their lives with more reckless abandon and spontaneity and happiness. Truly. Like, I truly have seen that. And, you know, the look that a client gives you after you do the tattoo and there's just this big smile on their face and they're like excited to tackle the day, I live for that shit. I can't imagine ever having a career where I don't see that, because it's so beautiful. I feel like as a tattoo artist, I'm directly helping people let go of certain societal pressures and let go of a box that they may have built themselves in, and just break out of that and be free and be decorated and be fun. And it's sick. It's awesome. I can't even lie. So if you are a person who has ever thought, oh man, I wish I was confident enough to get this tattoo, or I wish I could get a tattoo of XYZ, go and do it. Go and do it. Find an artist in your area and go and do it, because I promise you will feel so much better. And if you're a person who has seen the tattoos of others and have automatically been like, ew, what the hell? Why would they get that? I ask you to sit yourself down and really think about why it matters to you, why you feel so strongly about this, and explore where that place is coming from. Because I think that there's a lot there that you could tap into. And it's worth it to question yourself and question why you feel negatively about certain things and determine how you live your life and how that affects your life. I think a really interesting comparison I can make here too is I tattooed, when I was learning how to tattoo and I was really growing into this career, I tattooed in a really conservative, tiny little town in Connecticut, okay? And we could talk about that, but it's a lot. It was a bad environment. The shop I was at was not good, not clean. It was horrible. That's my apprenticeship. I could make a horror story video about it. There's a lot there. But, the tattoos that people would request from me there were almost always of a very certain variety, if you know what I mean. And those people always seemed miserable. They seemed unhappy, and they would talk to me about their lives because, like when people sit down to get tattooed, I learn a lot about them, and things were just horrible. It was sad. And since I moved to Chicago, where there's such a large, diverse group of people that exist and my clientele has changed, more often than not, people will sit down and they will be so happy just existing, and they'll be so happy just living here, living their lives, and it's really beautiful. You can see a difference. You really can. So I know I just sat here and kind of jabbered on for like 15 minutes, and I apologize for the lack of structure and the lack of like technical writing here, but I hope you guys understand when I say I love disgusting tattoos. I love the self-expression that it shows. I love how tapped into having a free spirit people like that, like people that get those tend to be. And I just love how fun they are. Like I said, at the end of the day, sometimes it's just fun. Sometimes you want to get a colorful pair of like gummy worm boobs tattooed on your butt cheek, and that's it. Tell me, do you have any nasty tattoos? Tell me about them. Show them to me. I'd love it. Do you want any terrible, nasty tattoos? Tell me about it. Maybe hit me up, because I like to do them. But yeah, this was Skunk Sauce TV. Thank you so much for tapping in and watching and listening to me talk. Please like, subscribe, follow, hit the button, bell, I don't know. I'm new to this. If you would be interested in seeing other specific kinds of videos related to tattooing, please let me know, including tattoo history, tattoo style, deep dives, anything like that. Let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Okay. Love you. Goodbye. Mwah.